My name is Aulona Selmani, and my film is called And the Wind Weeps. Is a production of ZHDK, which is University of Arts in Zurich, and is co-produced by SRF, which is the Swiss Radio and Television. And so yeah, it's part of my diploma film. I graduated with this movie. Yeah. Yes, so I am originally from Kosovo. I come from Kosovo, and I decided to study. I was born in Switzerland, but I was raised in Kosovo, and then I went back to Switzerland again to study the master's. And now I'm there. I'm living there still. Right now I'm in Kosovo. I'm in my vacation, so um, I decided to do this film because even though I personally have never experienced war because I was very young when the war happened, and I was not even in Kosovo when it happened, but I think the feeling of like after it ended and the people talking about it, and then growing up in Kosovo, you cannot like get away from that feeling, and you cannot get away from all these stories and the people who have actually experienced it. And I think while living in Kosovo, especially when talking with young people, we kind of like we talk about the war and everything, but it's always this kind of driven fact that let's not talk about it and let's move forward and everything, because I think people just want to forget. And I think at some point I just realized that I actually never stopped and I never thought about the people who have actually, like, because it's like most of Kosovo that have actually experienced war. And what about these people? Because me and my friends, we were very little, so we didn't really know what was going on. But the people who have actually seen it, how do they feel about it? And how do they feel that the justice for these all these bad things that happen to them maybe will never come? And these kind of ideas started to in my mind, and then I started thinking, okay, I really want to kind of research deeper about this. And then when I went and read all the articles, and I watched all the Hague documents, and I watched all the trials and everything, I found out that actually there is a lot of massacres that happened in Kosovo, and a lot of survivors that are still alive, and they were never called by Hague, or they never actually got any justice for people they lost, for their family, kids, for everyone that they actually lost. So for me, it was very heartbreaking to kind of understand that there are still people who are just living to bring justice, but no one is helping them. And most of them are even dying without ever testifying, or without ever seeing justice for their lost ones. And then I saw some articles about the fact that when these survivors die and no one is left to remember that kind of horror, or that kind of event that happened in a specific day, then the justice will never be at the end, because there will be no one to testify about what happened. And then I decided to make the movie about doubt, which represents all these survivors that remember all these horrors and all these trauma that they have been through, and that their only purpose in life is to justify and to bring to testify and to bring justice to what happened. And this is how the story came to life. And then I started to kind of talk more and see and read a lot of things and talk with people that have actually experienced all these things. And all of them had, I don't want to say all of them, but most of them had one thing in common, that their only purpose in life was to remember. And that to remember because they thought that I'm the only one that is remembering. I want to put it in a letter. I want to put it somewhere so people don't forget that this and this happened. And yeah, so for me, writing a character like Daud and then connecting it with his wife's story, which also represents the story of the women and what they went through during war, it was a very hard task to do, especially from a very young person like me that has never experienced war. So I had to kind of dig deep and dive into all these kind of things and kind of try and understand how it feels. And I have to say it was very hard for me to do it. And emotionally, it was very hard also to kind of get through with it, because I couldn't imagine how people live with these kind of emotional hardships still, you know, like how can they continue life with these kind of things in their mind? Because I was only watching things on the internet and only watching things from the archives and stuff, like only videos and photographs. And I was devastated, and like I was getting nightmares and I was getting all this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh my God, imagine now the scale that they actually feel, that they actually have seen it in real life, in real time, plus that it has happened to their loved ones, to people they know, to their families and everything. And add the fact that they maybe will never see justice for that. And I couldn't bear that kind of emotion. But I think when I found then the actors and the cast, and all of them have actually experienced war, and when I tried to kind of to explain it to them, I didn't need to explain so much because they were further away from me, because they actually lived it. And so I just kind of took them by my hand, and I just wanted to tell them what kind of path I want to go and what I want to tell with this movie about this. About remembering, about not wanting to go into oblivion and to not forget the stories and this justice and everything. And I think they got it perfectly. And I think that's why when they played the actors, when they played the characters, they actually were feeling everything, because they kind of were bringing everything from the past and bringing it into the character and bringing into the story, because they understood perfectly what I wanted to say with the story. And I'm happy that I could at least kind of in a short film kind of bring everything together and kind of make my point on what I want to say. And most of all, I'm very happy in a sense that it was done successfully and that everything went good, and that the story got the shape that that me and the team actually wanted from the beginning. So I think for me it was, the idea of the letter was the fact that these people don't have anyone to kind of talk with, in a sense, to kind of explain every day what happened so they remember. So I think for them, I thought for the character of Daud, for him to kind of be a bit every day a bit more calm, knowing that his story is somewhere, would be a letter, because Daud doesn't understand technology, doesn't understand all these other things. So for him, what he knows is a letter, something written. And for him, I think for the character of Daud to be a bit more calm and to kind of feel like he's accomplishing something is when it's written and it's on paper and it's somewhere. And I think for me is the idea that he could never finish the letter, is that he never got the whole story, because as it happened also here, sometimes women were never asked what happened to them, or even after the war, when they told what happened to them, they were cast out of the society, or they were blamed for what happened, even though it was totally not their fault. And so for me, I kind of decided I wanted to put all these elements together to see that The reason why the letter was never finished, or that the story was never sealed in something that will stay, is because the story was not completed, and because his wife was never asked from him of what actually happened to them as well. And for me, it's after he learns about the death of his brother, which was the other survivor of the massacre, is that the burden of this feeling that I'm the only one left alive to remember starts kind of to mess up his details. And I think this is where the other character comes into help, and he kind of wants to put that out into the world of technology and say, okay, look, you're writing a letter, but now I'm going to ask you like we're in court, and we have now a new technology which we can kind of, you know, record, and then you don't have to write and rewrite over and over again. And for me, it was, I wanted to kind of capture the moment of this character, which is only the neighbor, trying to put doubt to our world, to our senses of how now we keep things into paper and as evidence. And Doubt hearing himself for the first time talking about what happened kind of just puts him back into his world again, because he just kind of doesn't understand. Is he talking, okay, the words sound different now that I hear it and not as in paper, and the details sometimes don't come together as he actually did, because on paper is like he writes it and then he throws it and then he writes it again. And here for him is like a sealed thing, like, okay, I'm hearing myself now and I cannot undo it. I mean, to Doubt, this is how it feels to him. And I think it does something to his mind and to his feelings, that when now he sees that there is like this little device where his testimony is coming from, he's just so afraid. Is afraid because if this is his testimony, is it right? You know, can I delete it? Can I remake it? Can I is it everything that I ever wanted to say? Is it in here? And I think the fear of him not being able to tell everything because he's just afraid that he's going to miss something is all in that scene. And I think the actor played it very good because, as I said, he also experienced war. So for him, he dived into all the emotions that he experienced in that time. And I think then I had to kind of also research a lot about how the mind feels when it has to, not how the mind feels, but how the mind kind of works when it has to kind of remember all these important things. And after a time, when time goes by, how many details are left out, and how does it work when also pain and sadness is involved, and all these kind of different things are mixed up in the mind. And for me, everything in Doubt's mind happens when he's listening to his voice in the phone, because he's actually hearing his testimony for the first time. So for me, that was kind of the idea behind it, because as yeah, I think everything in Kosovo after the war, everybody wanted to have something on paper because this is what they believed in. And I think also most of the old generation kind of want to have, for example, my grandfather, he doesn't use computers and phones. I mean, he has a phone, but he only uses it for phone calls. And they want everything to be on paper because this is what they believe in. And I kind of started from that idea, like seeing my grandfather, how he packs things all up in letters and how he keeps the letters always, and he doesn't trust emails and all this kind of stuff. So I kind of connected to it, and I wanted to kind of mix up this testimony letter and then phone recording testimony. The character of the woman was from the beginning part of the film, because whenever I decided to do something about remembering and about the war and not having justice, the first thing on my mind actually was the women. And then I decided to kind of tell it from a different perspective. And especially in the beginning, that we don't see so much of her, we don't hear so much, is because kind of the movie is around the mind of Doubt. And the reason why we don't see her so much and she's only there kind of passing by and being there is because also the character of Dao doesn't see her that much and doesn't talk to her that much. And kind of I wanted to kind of tell it that way, because I think it was very unfair of how a lot of women live in secret after the war. And until now, there are a lot of women that maybe have never told anyone about what happened because they were ashamed.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not fair, because it's not their fault. And I don't think that they should kind of be blamed and have all these kind of burden in their hearts and in themselves to kind of justify that, okay, it happened, but I won't tell. And I kind of don't want it. So for me, the women character is Sanya. She is a very strong character, because like if you see in two different parts, you see Daud, he's talking every day about his pain. He's writing it in a letter. He's inviting neighbors to kind of talk about it, to write the testimony. And he's only thinking about how to bring justice to the people that died. But he has a lot of things in his mind, but at least he's talking it with somebody, and he's not keeping it to himself about what happened. He tells everyone what happened. In the meantime, we have a woman, his wife, in the house, that she talks with no one. She keeps the pain to herself. She takes care of everyone, and she has to keep all the burden of what happened, all her memories, all of her things in herself. Like, she doesn't even write it in a letter, because she thinks, okay, I shouldn't talk about it, because knowing how Dawood is kind of in this kind of condition, she doesn't want to kind of put it out in the open. But at some point it's enough, because like she gets the letter and she sees that her story is not there. And when she reads it, because she kind of, you can see from the beginning that she doesn't touch his desk until that very moment where she kind of takes the letter and she sees that my story is not here and I have to talk. And for me, the character of the woman was very strong, because I think what Daud was doing was very brave, but what the woman did is even more powerful, because it's very hard to kind of be strong for everybody and for yourself and keep it up to herself for such a long time. And it's even more powerful to kind of say it in the way the woman character said it. Yeah. So for me, it was, I mean, the movie is possible because the team behind it and the cast was amazing. And they kind of, when I talked with Kumrie, which played Sanye, she kind of knew exactly what to do, because I told her, look, you kept this to yourself for more than 20 years. So this is a moment, a powerful moment for you, where you're putting it out and you're really strong. And I didn't need to tell her anymore. Like, she completely understood what it has to be done, and she completely understood the fact of what these kind of words, what kind of power these words hold. And I have to say something about the scene where she cries, where we see her crying for the first time. And from behind the scene, we were talking with the actress, and she said that she has this kind of condition with dry eyes or something, and she cannot cry. Like, it has been several years she couldn't shed a tear. So she asked for fake tears. And then I said, okay, we will not do the shot more than twice, and you will have fake tears, and we will try to do that. And what happened is that we did the shot and we didn't need the fake tears. And for the first time in several years, she cried in this scene. And I know, because the whole scene, like when we shot it, it was like 2 minutes and something. And I couldn't say stop, because I couldn't believe that that is actually happening. And then after I said cut, and then I didn't do the shot more than twice. She told me that this is the first time she's crying in several years, because she actually felt the character, and she just kind of understands how big of emotions a character like this is holding on. And then for me, that was very powerful, that after that scene, I only decided to do other scenes that didn't require that much emotions, because I couldn't grasp it. It was wow. And I mean, I'm very young, I'm trying to kind of sometimes I felt like for me this story is too big, because I'm very young and I didn't want to kind of do something wrong, because I never experienced war. So I was like, okay, I really want to say something, because I really want to do some justice to all these people that are forgotten. And I want to kind of talk about these people that they are keeping it to themselves, and also all these people that are waiting until now for more than 20 years to kind of be called and testify and bring justice to their loved ones. But to me, it was kind of scary in a sense, because I was like, wow, this is too big. And I tried more than enough to kind of do everything correctly in a sense. And I tried to kind of not to, how do I say, I whenever I work with actors, I never was technical about it. I always told them, look, this is what I want from the story, and I want to bring kind of shed a light to all these themes that we're not talking about, like post-traumatic war that happens after my English now is going different ways.
Don't worry.
Yeah, so it's like I never was technical with them, and I told them that this is what I want to do with the story, but kind of whenever you play the characters, you just have to think of what you also experienced yourself during the war. And because everything that we're saying here, it's true emotions, even though the story that I wrote is fiction. Everything in it, from the stories to from the emotions to everything that we're saying, it actually happened. So it's true emotions. So you just have to kind of think what happened, and kind of just bring that emotions and that memories that you have in here. And I never wanted to be technical, like, oh, we go here and we do that and this and that, because it was not that kind of a story. I couldn't be technical about it. Too much emotions were involved. And I think because with the cast, we kind of created this little group that we were very connected to each other, and everybody started sharing stories during the rehearsals, and everybody was kind of being open to each other, and a very good energy was created between the cast and between the team. And then the characters started to shape themselves very easily, because when you connect with the other person in that emotional level, and you understand the pain, then you also understand each other's characters, what they're going through. So it's kind of easier to connect when you're playing in a scene, because you kind of know where that character is diving into. And I think for me, having this cast brought these characters to life was a lot easier for me to kind of manage the story and the movie and the shootings and everything else.